So, Actions Detrimental is going to be fun to listen to. Yo, what is up, everyone? My name is Jet. Welcome back to the episode of MDK Racing Victory Sub. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We got a lot to talk about. NASCAR at Pocono. Sold out crowd. More fans showed up this year than last year. Great crowd, great atmosphere, great racing. But boy, do we got to talk about that finish because controversy can't even describe what took place. It was a mixture of controversy, anger, I mean, trolling, everything. Oh boy. Let's just go over it. Let's talk about the point that everybody wants to talk about. The incident between Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson. Just a handful of laps ago, Denny Hamlin drives into turn number 1, washes up the racetrack, makes contact with Kyle Larson. Larson bounces into the outside wall, keeps going, and then those two have like a 5-car little scramble down the back straightaway before an incident happened with Justin Haley in the tunnel turn, bringing out the caution. Then under that same caution, Larson shows his displeasure, side-swiping Hamlin and almost putting Hamlin into the front stretch wall. But on the following restart, Hamlin was able to hold off a win under caution because Ryan Preece spun in the tunnel turn turn 2 with 2 laps to go coming to the final lap, and NASCAR for some reason did not throw a caution. It was unusual. They did not throw a caution. They waited until the cars were basically about to enter the tunnel turn on the final lap before they threw the caution. Denny Hamlin wins the race under caution for his 50th career Cup Series win, led just 9 laps, and now is the all-time leader for most wins at Pocono with 7 to his name, and even flashed the 7 symbol when he climbed out of the car. Smart by Hamlin to decide to park the car away from the crowd at the front stretch because, I mean, the boos, wow. I don't know. I can't remember. When was the last time we heard boos that loud? Probably, I don't even know if Harvick in 21 at Bristol was that bad. I'm trying to remember time. When was, it probably was the last time boos were that loud was Hamlin. I don't know, but it was a while since we've heard boos that loud. And I think it's a mixture of both what Hamlin did and the decision by NASCAR, because I'll be honest, the decision by NASCAR, I get it on one side, but it made no sense because on Monday at New Hampshire, NASCAR threw the caution for Alex Bowman when Bowman was sideways and then gathered up and kept going almost immediately, and they threw the caution for that. Yet Preece slid sideways down to the bottom of the racetrack, hit the wall, I believe, and stalled out off of turn number 2 on the racing surface. And they waited so long for them to throw the caution. It made no sense because NASCAR, again, this is another staple or another mark of them being inconsistent with their calls. I understand you don't want to put yourself in the middle of a race-winning move in the closing laps. I get that. But if you're going to be consistent, you got to throw a caution for that because they've thrown cautions for less than that, even in closing laps. So again, it makes no sense for them to hold the flag this time by where previous incidents, not that far along, or not that far ago, I should say, they've thrown the caution. Again, it's just another incident, another example of NASCAR being inconsistent with their officiating calls. Now, on to Denny Hamlin. Okay, I like Denny, but I gotta say, Denny, that is massively hypocritical of you to be complaining. Again, I listen to Actions Detrimental. I listen to every episode. It is mighty hypocritical of you to be calling out drivers for being over-aggressive and then do that. I understand Larson ain't innocent. Larson has a history of driving dirty. And even if the hardest Larson fans can even have to acknowledge that Larson can race dirty. Did it to Elliott last year at Fontana. Did it to Preece. He's done it to numerous drivers where he's put them in the wall. I get that. I get that Larson isn't innocent. But Larson didn't do anything to Hamlin. The move that Hamlin did was almost to a T exactly like what Hamlin did to Chastain. The only difference is that with Chastain last year, it was justified because Chastain has ruined Hamlin's races numerous times. Did it at Gateway, did it at Atlanta. I'm pretty sure there was another 2 examples before Pocono. So when Hamlin did it to Chastain, it was justified. It made sense. But In this situation, it didn't. And then Hamlin in his interview after said this.
Both guys wrecked themselves. There was the lane. He missed the corner first, and evidently he didn't have his right side tires clean, and when he gassed up, he just kept going again. You know, you have an option in those positions to either hold it wide open and hit the fence, or lift and race it out. But those are choices they made. I didn't hit either one of them. Didn't touch them.
By the way, shout out to Jeff Gluck for this video that he posted. I mean, just the Larson guy standing there in disgust with Hamlin driving by. That is great camera work. That video goes hard, I should say. But yeah, I mean, Hamlin, you're not a victim here. You're not a victim. There was contact. If you watch the video, there was contact. May not have been smoke, but there was contact between Hamlin and Larson. There was. I don't care what anyone says. There was contact. If you look at it, especially from Harvick's point of view, the two did touch, and Larson went to the wall. Was there a higher lane? Yes, but Hamlin moved up from the bottom of the racetrack, made contact with Larson. He kept going up. That was Hamlin. That was all Hamlin. Yes, you can make an argument of, oh, maybe Larson could have backed up. Yes, I get that, but when it's what? In the closing laps of the race with just 10 or so laps to go, you really expect him to back off? No. I mean, I get it. It's racing hard for the win, but that was just over aggressive by Denny Hamlin. There was no need for that, especially for a guy like Larson. Again, with Chastain last year, it was justified because of who it was. But Larson didn't do anything to Hamlin. I don't know. I like Hamlin, but that was not right. And that's a weird way to earn your 50th win. Like, damn. So yeah, I mean, what Hamlin did, Hamlin pulled a Larson move. Because again, Larson has done it to other drivers numerous times where he has pushed them out of the groove and basically gave them the option of you either gonna wreck and put yourself at the wall or you back off the throttle. What Hamlin did was give Larson a taste of his own medicine. I get that. That doesn't make it right, however. And it is, again, very hypocritical for Hamlin to be the one that says drivers are being over-aggressive and then for him to do the same. And I understand also that drivers can be hypocritical in general because they don't like if it happens to them, but they're okay if they do it. I get that. There's a lot of factors into it. Overall, what I'm going to say is this. This is my final stance on the situation. What Hamlin did is what Larson has been doing to other drivers. That doesn't make what Hamlin did right. Hamlin's interview also didn't help. For him to say he wrecked himself. No, he didn't. You kind of wrecked him. You kind of, again, look at last year. Hamlin did kind of wreck Chastain. Like, there's no ifs or buts about it. He made contact. You put Larson in the wall. You have to have part of the blame. You can make the justification of whether he receives full blame because Larson could have backed out, whatever. So at the very minimum, he deserves at least 55% of the blame for that. So now with that out of the way, the race in general itself, I loved it. Great race. Again, NBC, I hate, praising them again, but just fantastic coverage from NBC. Great racing in general. Lots of very interesting strategies. Stage 1 was solid racing. Stage 2 at the first half, drivers just kept spinning out in turn 1 like nothing. Larson spun out. I believe Byron spun out. I think Austin Dillon spun out. Lots of drivers just spun out in turn 1. Larson got hit by Bell, I should say, entering 1. So Larson was getting used up by everybody in this race today. But lots of drivers were spinning out, having issues. But outside of that, the racing, it was pretty good. It wasn't the best, wasn't amazing, but it was pretty good. The strategy was very intriguing. You saw a lot of drivers, even though you knew it was going to be one of two things. Drivers that were setting up for the stage win or drivers were setting up for the race win. A lot of drivers with different strategies, when they're pitting, when they're not, how much fuel they're going to be using. Some drivers were already saving fuel very early in the race. So strategy was on point, or I should say all over the place, the entire time. So that made the race add another layer of interest to the race, I should say, outside of the actual on-track product. Now, this race also caused some chaos for the bubble drivers. So start off first with Joe Logano. He's already locked into the playoffs, but he did win stage number 1. But on a restart, the beginning of the restart in stage 2, A log jam ensues, 3 wide, 4 wide racing, causes a lot of beating and banging, and ends up with Joey Logano sideways and spinning in turn number 1, and Suarez just barely gets clipped and collected. He goes and slams the outside wall. Both cars were done for the day, and Joey Logano, he had a bit of issues with the crew members, or I should say the tow truck members and medical staff, trying to help his car, because by the time his car was stopped on the racetrack, he had flat tires. He needed a push. And let's just say the medical team weren't the best help.
Put the fucking truck to it! Put the truck to the fucking thing! Come here! What do you want? Hook the thing up! We're pushing! I can't push it! Come here! Come here! I can't drive it! I need a tow truck! What tow? You want to be hooked? Call me in! Hook! Hook it up! Lift it up! Hook it up! God damn it, you stupid son of a bitch!
I'll be honest, I have never heard Logano that mad ever. It was weird, and I kind of liked it in a weird way. But yeah, like I said, stage 2 in the second half, after we got through that turn 1 chaos with cars spinning, there was a lot of interesting strategy that was going on. Kyle Larson would end up winning stage 2 with Ty Dillon in second through that pit strategy. They were staying out, banking on either a caution or getting to that stage finish after Christopher Bell spun with 4 laps to go, so the race ended under caution in stage 2. Blaney started out in front in stage number 3, but quickly fell off the pace over something was going on with him and power. He was getting no power. He was losing spots left and right, like he was going 8 to 10 miles an hour slower than everybody else in the field. So that was a tough break for him after he had a fast car last week, or I should say on Monday at New Hampshire. Truex took over for the lead and was out in front for majority of the time until we got to the final round of green flag pit stops. But then on lap 106, the big crash that took place in turn number 1. We know turn 1 can be very scary when entering that high rate of speed, but Austin Dillon gets himself into some trouble, comes down in front of Tyler Reddick, turns himself, and slams the outside wall a ton. The good thing with the adjustments made with the next-gen car, the car is buckling more than what it did in the past, but still a hellacious hit. Austin Dillon then climbed out of the car and then threw one of the worst helmet throws I've ever seen. I mean, it was garbage. It was a horrible helmet toss to Tyler Reddick. I understand he has a helmet, not like Hamlin or Kyle Busch in the past where they threw a Hans of Ice. I get that, but that was a garbage throw from Austin Dillon. And then further on his interview, proceeded to blame Reddick, saying that, you know, basically didn't take any responsibility for it. He kept blaming Tyler Reddick, which I'm going to hold my thoughts on it because obviously with these types of hits, especially to the back end of the car, you know, I don't want to throw that word out there, but I would wait till Thursday for further evaluation. But I will say that Austin Dillon is in the wrong because he did that to himself. He came down in front of Tyler Reddick. He took himself out of the race. But again, don't want to go too much into this because, you know, if there is something, I don't want to jump on it to blame a guy that probably isn't 100%. So we'll just leave it at that and we'll move on. But with 41 laps to go, pit stops took place for the final time under green flag conditions. Larson, who pitted at the end of stage number 2 at lap 120, he took about 3 seconds of fuel and 2 tires and was able to get out ahead of Denny Hamlin, who basically did the same thing and took 2 tires. Truex, out, who was race leader, took 4 tires, normal amount of fuel, and came out third. So it was really a battle between those 3 drivers, with Larson seeming to be in the catbird seat. Until 17 laps to go, when the 77 of Ty Dillon flat out dumped Chase Briscoe, bring out the caution. After that, we had just incredible restarts, 3 wide, lots of action going on. And then Alex Bowman spun in turn 3 after, let's just say, getting loose with help from a certain someone, and that was Denny Hamlin. Hamlin didn't touch him, but may have packed some air into the back end of Bowman's car, which got him sideways, you know, and Bowman went around. Hamlin was a menace today. I'll just say that. And that is how we got to the situation with Bowman and that is how we got to the situation with Larson, and Hamlin. So you're all caught up on what happened in the race. Let's take a look at the actual results from the race. So Hamlin wins. How about that? A 1-2-3 finish for Toyota. Hamlin wins. Tyler Reddick, who had he had a good car, but just had a lot of issues in this race, had a lot of things that kept him out of real contention, comes home in second. Truex, a strong third run finish. Harvick, one of only 2 Fords in the top 10 in 4th place. Ty Gibbs, the rookie, strong run for him in 5th place. Christopher Bell, good run for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in 7th. How about Harrison Burton and Eric Jones, 8th and 9th place? Great runs for them. Chase Elliott, much needed good run for him after he has had, let's be honest, a not so good last few weeks for that 9 team. Comes home in 10th. Bubba Wallace, who should have had a top 5 finish, but in the final round of green flag pit stops, his team had a horrible pit stop, sent him back to 20th. Luckily, with the help of the restarts, was able to gain a lot of spots and finish 11th. Critical for him in the point standings. 12th, Eric Almirola, good run for him. Chastain, quiet 13th place. Byron comes home in 14th. Todd Gillen, Brad Keselowski, AJ Allmendinger, Chris Buescher, Michael McDowell, and Larson would finish in 20th after that contact with Hamlin. Busch had another bad day, got in the wall, I think 2 or 3 times, comes home 21st. Noah Gragson, 22nd. Then it's Austin Cindric, Alex Bowman, Cole Custer, J.J. Yaley, Corey LaJoie, Ty Dillon, Chase Briscoe, Ryan Blaney finishes 30th, Priest finishes 31st, Haley 33rd, Austin Dillon, Joey Logano, and Daniel Suarez rounds out the 36-car field. Here's a look at the point standings with just 5 races to go. In the regular season standings, that battle between Martin Truex Jr. and William Byron is getting very, very intense. Now, currently at the moment, Martin Truex Jr. is the points leader, but he only holds on by 31 points ahead of William Byron. So that battle for the regular season championship is getting very, very tight. And then you see no real change after that. Denny Hamlin, though, earns 14 playoff points now in total. Logano, as well as Larson, earns a playoff point for their stage wins. Harvick plus 163, Keselowski and Buescher 122 and 111 respectively. Bubba Wallace and Michael McDowell, they gain above the cutoff line. Bubba was plus 2, now is plus 26. McDowell was, I believe, plus 1, now is plus 17. So very critical, good days, good points days for those 2 drivers, capitalizing on Daniel Suarez's issues, who now falls to 18th, minus 23. AJ Allmendinger, minus 17. Ty Gibbs, minus 28. Alex Bowman still in 20th, minus 45. So yeah, my thoughts on this race. Again, I loved it. I really loved it. Racing wasn't the best. Like, it wasn't like amazing racing. So I give it an 8.5 out of 10. I thought it was a really good, entertaining Pocono race. You know, great strategy. The broadcast NBC, once again, doing a tremendous job. Solid racing, entertaining racing at the end. But, man, I got aside from the NASCAR officiating call at the end. I get it, but don't think it was right. I gotta say that with Hamlin, I do like he's embracing the villain role. That I cannot deny. I appreciate that. Even though what he did was very hypocritical, I appreciate he's embracing the villain role. I think he even says something, they're going to boo his rocks by the time he leaves, which, if you don't know, at Pocono, the legends of that racetrack, they have rocks with their name and their number painted in front of Pocono Raceway. So that's what he was referring to, which I thought was a nice little jab back. So I appreciate he's embracing the villain role. But Larson's post-race interview was very interesting because he said something along the lines of the fact that everybody in the friends group knows that Hamlin is always right. You know, he's never wrong, and that he's going to have to be aggressive next time out. He gave a real interesting interview, which I thought, if you haven't watched it, listen to that interview. I thought it was very intriguing. But yeah, Hamlin's trending on social media, which I guess that's good in a way, but wow. Man, I gotta say this with NASCAR. This month of July, I should say this, ever since NASCAR went to NBC, it has been banger after banger after banger. Let's say that we did Nashville, we did Chicago, we did, after Chicago, I believe it was New Hampshire. I mean, and now Pocono. I can't think of a bad race, honestly. I forgot, Atlanta's after Chicago, but yeah, all the races have just been amazing to watch. Great storylines, great racing, lots of drama. Pocono delivered on everything, I think. And yeah, next weekend we're going to Richmond, which, I mean, it can be pretty interesting because we're racing in the daytime. So hopefully we're going to see some tire fall off, some interesting strategy, a lot of comers and goers, but lots of good things NASCAR's got going the way. Again, great racing, great storylines, got a great, not only regular season battle, but also that bubble battle is getting really intense heading to the final few races. We got the Indy road course coming up with all of them, you know, championship drivers from across the world coming in. I mean, man, it is a great time to be a NASCAR fan, but I love this race. What are your thoughts on the race, or what are your thoughts on Hamlin's move at the end? Let me know in the comment section down below. Until next time, my name is Jett from MDK. Congratulations to Denny Hamlin, your winner at Pocono.